We have merch now. I've made the merch. If you want to support me and the stuff that I do, please consider buying the merch. I only make $5 off of each product because I'm using the Steam partner program thing shit store. And if you have any merch ideas, please leave them in the comments. I read just about every single one of them. And if it's a good idea, I might make it. All right, you read the title. You know why you're here. Let's talk about some Oblivion. Now, before I start reviewing Oblivion, I do want to say a couple of things. One, I have played Skyrim before, but I've played none other of the Elder Scrolls games. So, kind of ground rules. Number one, I'm just going to try to compare it only to games that came out around its time, because it is a remaster, so the main mechanics are still old as fuck. And two, I'm not going to really talk about the graphics. The graphics look amazing. It got remastered, so it looks fine. One thing I will say about the graphics though is that I'm glad they kept like some of the original designs of like the main characters people like. For example, the adoring fan, the gnome guy, Jimmy Neutron head ass. I'm glad they kept like stuff like that the same, but updated other people's stuff, because I'm pretty sure some of like the NPCs did not look the best. But speaking of looks, character creation. Now, it was inevitable I was either going to play a Khajiit or an Argonian. All right, the rest of the classes, none of them appeal to me in the slightest. They're all very basic. It's just human with extra steps, elf. They're all the same. But the one thing I will say is that if you wanted to play a Khajiit, there's only really one playstyle you can play as a Khajiit, and that's a thief, really, because apparently they get minuses to magic. So fuck if you wanted to be a magical cat. Luckily, the Argonians get a kind of a bonus to magic. So I obviously went with Argonian, and I made as much of a kobold as I possibly could have. I tried to get him to look as close to my character as possible, but they didn't really let me go albino with the colors, so I just went with green.
Don't let my face fool you. Mess with my crew, and the last thing you'll ever see is the creature.
But other than those few flaws, there's only one other thing I have a problem with, and it's that the Argonian hairstyles suck ass. There's horns and bald, and the fins are kind of cool, but like other than that, the rest of the hairstyles suck ass for Argonians. What the fuck are these bone dreadlocks? I don't want no fucking bone rows, dude. But other than that, I do have to say the character creation in Oblivion is one of, if not the top notch in terms of like what you can fucking do. Going through all the Oblivion settings, it's like nose bridge nose. It's like it has like fucking 14 million sliders you could adjust and fuck with. And I love how you can either make the most horrifying abomination possible or just the most realistic dude. Anyway, character creation, top notch. Love it. That brings us to... So right after you make your character, you're going to have to be thinking about classes, all right? Now, there's three main classes you can do. All right, the three main things you're going to be doing are either melee, magic, or ranged, all right? Starting off with melee, you're either going bing, boink, or bonk, all right? Now, this might be controversial, but in my opinion, melee's not super hard to understand. The most interesting thing about being a melee build is that if you go like unhanded or unarmed, you can do a special attack that lets you fucking disarm people. Pretty cool. Other than that, you have a sword or you have an axe or maybe a hammer. And then you smack the shit out of people with that. So your gameplay loop will basically be find sword, kill person, look at their body, see if they have better sword. If not, rinse and repeat. Basically, yeah, same thing with axe, and if you're using your hands, then punch the shit out of people and don't even look at their body. Now, magic is where it gets interesting, so I'll come back to that last. Ranged is, just in my opinion, the right way to play the game. The easiest way to play the game, in my opinion. Because the two things you need to do for ranged is you could either just be good with a bow and like walk around and just shoot people, but that's not really how people play it. The best way to play ranged is just to max your sneak, get chameleon, which is a spell effect, which isn't very hard to get early. And then once you do that, you don't have to interact with the enemies because you'll be invisible and you can just shoot them to death. And with the crit chance and stuff that happens with sneaking and headshots with the bow, it's the best way to play. Your enemies can't attack you, you're invisible, you do triple fucking damage because you're hitting headshots and are sneaking, and then you're good at lockpicking probably also, so because you're probably playing a Khajiit. Being racist in an Oblivion game, who's ever heard of it?
I hope we will speak again soon, marsh friend.
Hello, farm equipment. The old days, back when Argonians were property, and Bethesda released their games at a reasonable rate. No, Nerevar, I don't have any feathers or strings for you to play with. Goodbye, my Inwa, back to the lobby. How does the whole Argonian breast thing work? I'm asking for a friend. Hello there, Timu Viking. As Nerevar, I expected you to smell of Daedric excrement as a child of Malakath. However, you are only slightly unpleasant to stand next to in confined spaces. I just got a whiff of wolf pussy Nerevar. Ayla must be close.
Now, every single Elder Scrolls game is racist. Now, magic is where things get weird. So, to be fair, no matter what you do and no matter which class you pick, eventually you will level up to the point you will have 100 everything if you try. You know, so all you're really deciding at the beginning is how good you want your early game to be and what you want to do early game. The only other thing that really decides what you'll be doing is you get a birth sign. Most of the birth signs don't really matter. They kind of suck, actually. There are 2 or 3, I think, that actually matter. The only one I remember, because it's the only one that, you know, comes up for me, is the stone birth sign, the stone guy birth sign. You don't get the regen magicka, but you get a bonus to your like intelligence or willpower or something. So it's kind of like a trade-off, but it is really good if you know what you're doing with magic. I didn't go with that. I just went with the regular mage because I want to regen magicka because I'm not that good at Oblivion. But other than that, the burst signs are kind of just like mini buffs for whatever you're doing. Now, I bring all this up because if you want to be able to do everything at any given point in time, instead of waiting till late game to be able to do everything, magic is the class you have to pick. Because very early on, you can find and make spells to just give you 100 fortification on any ability you want. So you can go from being the ugliest man alive to being the most charismatic lizard on the planet. And I say melee and range builds aren't super interesting, but to be fair, the most interesting thing you'll be doing with magic is the custom spells. That's where all the fun of the magic goes, is custom spells and custom equipment that you can enchant. Unfortunately, it doesn't go very deep, in my opinion. Unless you're glitching and getting like infinite mana or whatever, you basically make the highest level healing and damage spell you can make, whether it be like, you know, you can pick your flavor of damage, fire, shock, poison, whatever. But after that, like, there's not much else, you know. You make whatever spell you want to be using at that given point in time. My setup was usually a healing spell, a damaging spell, a slightly weaker damaging spell for when I had low mana, a summon, whatever spell helped me during whatever specific dungeons, and then I had a combo spell, you could say, that all it does is fortify my magicka, my intelligence, and my willpower, and I can cast higher level spells and get more mana back. It's not super in-depth. You cast that at the beginning, you get extra mana, you go... Which brings me to my next point. In order to do anything I just said, you're gonna need money. Okay, so here's the problem with money in Oblivion. It's weirdly scarce and also too abundant, which I don't know how they did it. So this might just be my experience with money in Oblivion, so take it with a grain of salt. However, in Oblivion, all I wanted to do was do magic stuff. So I was like, how do I do magic stuff? I was like, oh, join the Mages Guild. I'll join the Mages Guild. Joining the Mages Guild takes a pretty long time. honestly. If you want to speedrun it, you can just teleport to every single town, and then, you know, that's it. Just all right. Hang on. All right, let's pivot. Okay, let's pivot from gold to side quest to the Mages Guild. All right, let's just look. The Mages Guild takes too long, and it's not super interesting. I could understand how people like the little, like, oh, I'm going to a town, like, you know, kind of like getting involved in like the petty drama. You know what? That's kind of interesting, because like technically it's kind of cool to take a break from being like, oh, the world is ending, and just be like, oh, this guy needs his groceries done. You know what? If you take interest in that, fine. But when I think of joining a Mages Guild, I think, oh, you have to get recommendations from every other town. All right, I'll go to every other town and prove I'm the best mage. No, pull a prank on my headmaster, bruh. What?
That's the spirit.
It's the most frat boy shit ever, and I don't know whether to compliment them in being like, oh yeah, that's kind of realism. Even if you were in a magic school, there would be people like this, or deduct from the fact that I had to deal with them in game. Like it felt draining to deal with some of these people. Like literally, I think only 1 or 2 quests have you do anything related to magic, which is like, I think one of them is go into a cave and save somebody, and the other one is go into another cave and find a crystal or something. And the rest of the quests are just, oh, go get my groceries, oh, pull a prank on this guy, go into a well and almost drown, by the way, because someone killed this other guy. It's like, what am I doing? Why am I here? Why am I doing this for you? I just want to go into the college, bro. Can I get into community fucking magic college or not? All right.
Yeah, just leave my order at the base of the tower, or if my golem's there, just give it to him.
Yeah, no, it's just I'm stuck in a booby trap.
I mean, I wrote in the instructions the answers to all 3 riddles. Did you read the instructions?
Yeah, no, I didn't see that.
Okay, well...
So, rounding that all out, let's go back to gold, all right? The reason you need gold is because, specifically for magic, why you need gold is because, A, you're buying soul gems, you're buying spell components, you're buying ingredients and such if you need them. But the main thing you're buying is you need to get custom spells fast, because buying your really shitty spells from people doesn't really feel great. So what you're gonna need to do is you can do 2 things. Two things is you can do the Mages Guild shit, and then go to the college and they have a free spell thing there that you can craft your own spells, or you can do what I did, do the Mages Guild shit, and then find out way later, while exploring through the mountains, that there is just a fucking wizard's tower sitting in the mountains that you can just move into for the right amount of gold. That also has a custom spell thing on it. So, in order for you to renovate that whole fucking tower, is you're gonna need, I want to say like 10,000 gold or something. It's not cheap. So, if you're anything like me, when you're met with a problem, you do one of 2 things. You either ignore it and go do something else, or 95% of the time, you just spearhead through it because you say, fuck the game, I'm gonna do this thing even though you're making it really hard. So, I'm gonna tell you how to get money. First, enemies levels scale with you. I didn't know that. So, if you're in early game, in order to get money, you need to kill enemies with good armor so you can sell them at like 400 gold a pop. So what you're going to want to do is, in order for you to get up in level really fast, is lockpick.
This is the Lockpicking Lawyer, and the video you're about to watch is the culmination of a series of events that started about 6 months ago.
So, at the beginning of the game, when I started my playthrough, when I was lockpicking, I pressed space on a tumbler that was already set. And then it made the level up sound. and I took advantage of this to the fullest extent.
Can I keep doing this forever? Huh! Huh! Oh, good heavens.
Yeah, apparently this has been in the game for a while. I didn't know. I found it out. But if you just keep spamming a tumbler that's already set, you can get 99 lockpicking before leaving the tutorial cave. Now, I don't recommend you do this, by the way, because if you're not prepared, your enemies will scale with you and you won't have any armor or anything to deal with them. So I recommend getting 1 or 2 levels, getting it up to like 50 or something, you know, manageable, and then leaving. Elite, just go and, you know, find something else and then level it up later. So I got my lockpicking to 99, leveled up a couple of times. You have to sleep in order to level up, which took me a second. I might be a little dumb, but after you do that, the enemies will scale with you and you can go to, well, I went to this cave, but you can probably go to any cave. The enemies you fight will drop dwarven and orcish stuff that is like worth 900, 400 some odd gold, and you can just sell that shit for fat stacks really early, which is another problem I have with the gold. Is why am I not getting gold from quests? I'm going to do quests, and every time I do a quest, all I get is the stuff I got from going on the quest. And to be fair, there's not a lot of gold involved in doing these quests. Sometimes you get a good item, or maybe you get, you know, some experience, but you don't get any flat out gold. So it kind of incentivizes you to just farm if you want anything. So that's what I did. So going back to the house, after you spend too much time getting the money, upgrading your fucking speech skill so that you can get better prices for the stuff you sell, and realizing a little too late that you can cast an ease burden spell to make your carrying capacity and level up your endurance and shit so that you can actually carry the things back instead of doing it like 3 items at a time. Okay, taking all of that into account, let's talk housing. It is so odd to me. Gold is almost too scarce at the beginning, because if I just had a 1k gold at the beginning, I probably wouldn't have needed to do a lot of this stuff. Because the main reason I even found out how to farm, to do this, to do that, is because I needed somewhere to put my items. Because you can't just leave them in a barrel or something, because they will despawn. Or at least I'm 98% sure they despawn. I don't know where I left my shit. So you're thinking, well, what are the best houses in Oblivion? The best house in Oblivion, hands down, is the tower I was talking about, which is free to move into, expensive to renovate. The other house that is basically the best thing to have is for 4,000 more gold than the shack in Imperial City, is you can get a manor, which is awesome. And all you have to do is do a quest, which is kind of annoying, but kind of cool, because there's a necromancer in the basement. But you need a house in Oblivion to store literally anything. So that is going to probably be the first thing you do if you're a loot goblin like me and just fucking take everything. All right, now that we've gotten some of the basics out of the way, I can finally talk about the main quest of Oblivion. The main quest in Oblivion is going to take you like 5 hours. If you just keep doing the main quest in Oblivion, it'll take you 5-6 hours to do. I'm not going to lie. 3% of the game is the main quest. 97% of the rest of the game is doing all the side quests. Now, I'm level 21. I really only did the main quests and a couple of side quests that happened to be where I was going, and that looked interesting to me. So I can't speak for like 96% of the game. I don't know what's going on. I did some of the quests for the god statues. I turned into a vampire. I did the Mages Guild stuff. I did the arena, but honestly, I didn't feel the need to do any of the other stuff. Oh, I also did the what's it called? The rite of passage, with the knights and stuff. I'll put a clip of it if I have it. You walk around and find all the shrines or whatever that is. I think the best part about playing Oblivion for people who like it is gonna be feeling like you live in Oblivion. A lot of these side quests are just like, you know, petty and interesting, like story elements and stuff. However, I am a combat junkie. I like hitting things very coolly with lots of sparkles. And after the 9th hour of Oblivion, standing still and shocking people to death isn't very interesting anymore. After being in the arena for the second time, because it didn't save, I'm not going to dock it points for that, but that's not a uncommon issue for Oblivion, is just not fucking save. After doing the arena for the second time and just standing there watching people run to their deaths at me as I just go, taser tag, and they instantly die. You know, you gotta give me something else, right? You gotta give me something to go off of. The only fight I had trouble with was when I got ganked by like 17 different people, and even then I was just like, okay, now that I know they're there, I'm just gonna walk backwards, go boom, 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 and then drink a potion, keep walking backwards, boom, 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 keep walking backward. It's like, you know. And then one of the final bosses in the like Dagon realm or whatever, he kept healing himself and then like resurrecting his friends, and that was super annoying. So it's not that I really had trouble with him, it was more I just took me like 40 minutes longer than it was like it really needed to be. To be fair, I was playing on normal, so I wasn't playing on super difficulty, but to my knowledge, raising the difficulty, all that does is just buff the stats of everything. So it wouldn't be harder per se, it would just take longer to do everything, which really would have stopped me from finishing the game. Just to give you the 411 of what's going on in Oblivion. Main quests. King goes, yo, you're in my dreams, dog. Lets you follow him. King gets killed. Amulet is given to you, Amulet of Kings. He tells you, go find this guy. He knows who my son is, so that he can be the rightful heir of the Imperial City. You go, okay, go find the guy. Go like, yo, dude, Amulet of Kings. Where Martin at? And he goes, I know where Martin is. You go where Martin is, close an Oblivion gate, say, hey, Martin, you're a king. He's like, nah. And I'm like, okay. They go back to a mountain fortress to like hide out or whatever. And then you basically do whatever Martin and fucking old bitch says until you go and close the final Oblivion gate. And it's a whole big shebang. I won't spoil what happens at the end, but it's a whole thing. Now, everything else in Oblivion is from books and side quests, and if you want to figure it out, it won't tell you everything that's going on if you don't care. Okay, that's one thing I will give it. If you're not paying attention, you will miss things. So if you want to get immersed, read some books. Now, I can tell you my journey on Oblivion pretty easily. I woke up in the sewer, went to the Imperial City, did some of the main quests, tried to get a house, tried to get some gold, tried to do all the magic stuff, walked around, did some shit, but there was a chunk of my time that was devoted to figuring out the systems, specifically soul gems. May I ask why this game makes it so unbelievably hard? Have enchanted things. I don't know who or what or why designed it this way. You can make custom enchanted shit, which is what I did. All of my basic clothes, because you put on armor as a mage, it'll put your spell effectiveness down. Alright, so you want to wear regular clothes. I enchanted all my regular clothes with like Magicka up or like Fortify a skill or, you know, something, right? Magic items. I don't know how to make them useful. I really don't. Look, maybe as a melee person, a magic item would be way more useful. But look, all of the magic items I have made, I have tried stacking on these abilities too. But for one, they drain super quickly. They're instantly like gone. It's like 4 or 5 hits, they're gone. They're out. But on top of all that, the soul gems needed to recharge them, you need a spell called Soul Trap. Now, Soul Trap is not a uncommon spell to acquire. You can get it pretty easily. But then you need all the soul gems to store the souls from Soul Trap into. It's like, okay. And then you have to consume them in order to recharge your item that only gonna get like 15 hits out of anyway. So it's like, okay, wasted a soul gem, but that's okay, whatever. And then you realize that you either now have to go find these soul gems or go buy them. And both are just like, why? The only saving grace to enchanting and doing all of this bullshit for enchanted weapons that honestly, for a mage, don't matter. Maybe for a melee user they would matter. Is that when you do a quest, a main quest, by the way, for one of the god statues, you can get a artifact that is an infinite soul gem that doesn't ever get consumed. Thank God. However, the soul gem can be a little finicky. I don't know what determines what is a black soul gem, what is a grand, what is a I don't know. I do not know. I do not care. All right. I know people are gonna be like, well, I don't care. I'm using magic and I'm trying to play the game. I don't care. I do not care. Now, what I think is devilish and, dare I say, ill-willed is the fact that after you complete this main quest, they asked you to give up that artifact to Martin to open the portal for like the second to last mission in the game. And I'm like, what? I'm not giving this bitch up. But don't worry, there's other statues you can get these artifacts from. Honestly, get the feline agility ring. If you're not using it, get rid of it. It sucks. It sucks ass. It's one of the worst fucking artifacts, all right? Oh, and I might add this in later, but why are so many Argonians part of the Mages Guild? Like, there are so many. I thought I was being unique, but they're just everywhere. Now, I don't know where to put this, but I do have to talk about it since it's there. Vampirism. I don't know how to feel about vampirism because on one hand, I want to say vampirism is pretty cool. All right. These vampires can infect you, and if you go to sleep, they nibble on your neck and turn you into a vampire. All right. So here's the benefits to being a vampire. Basically, all of your skills get upped by like, I want to say like 5, 10, something like that at late stage vampirism. The downside is sunlight does continuously more and more fire damage to you, which honestly, not that big of a deal. I don't know if you can get fire resistance to like mitigate it, but honestly wasn't a huge issue for me when I had vampirism. Other downside, non-important NPCs will just run away from you, and that's kind of annoying, especially if it's like a shopkeeper or something you want to buy from. And then the worst part is you cannot wait and or fast travel while in the sun because you're taking damage. And if you wait 1 hour in the sun, you will instantly die. I don't know how to feel about it because on one hand, I think it's cool that it's like, oh, it switches up the gameplay. But on the other hand, it's kind of just annoying. Like, the benefits to the extra skill points are nice because you can exceed the skill point cap, which is cool. But I'm not waiting real game time to wait for nighttime to fast travel, you know? And curing it is kind of a hassle, I'd say. There's a couple of ways you can cure it. You can do the trial thing, or you can go down here and find the fucking like pirate base thing, and there's a freebie cure vampirism. Now, there's a lot more I could go into on Oblivion, to be honest. I do think the Oblivion gates themselves are cool. Having these little like portals you can enter into, and like, you know, you could basically enter this like cool like hell dungeon. Unfortunately, the layouts are pretty much the same. I think there's some variation with the portals, but they're basically, you know, the same. A lot of red, get to the tower, go straight up the tower, hit the button type shit. So all in all, I'm gonna just rapid fire, just like wrap this shit up. All right. Okay. Oblivion. I think Oblivion, if we're taking into account back in the day and also now, back in the day, Oblivion was probably an 8 to a 9 out of 10 for when it came out. Because to be fair, a lot of this shit that it's doing right now, I mean, it's been fixed and it's been revised on other games, but for what it was doing back in the day, pretty solid fucking work, I do have to say. Pretty solid. 8, 9 out of 10. For the remaster today, you know, the graphics are nice, but like gameplay wise, definitely like a 6. It's 6, 7. It's fun. It's got a lot of content, but like, if you don't like the story of Oblivion or the side quests therefore, or living in the world, then the game is not for you. If like some games you can get away with that, like for example, Elden Ring. I am an Elden Ring glazer, all right? But even if you don't like the story of Elden Ring, the combat, if you like the combat of Elden Ring, you can just be like, okay, next, and then go to the next fight, all right? And this, you have to really, really like the story of Oblivion, because there's only so many times I can left click, kill somebody, and then drink 2 potions, and then do that over and over and over and over again. The game was built around a story. It was not built around being challenging, in my opinion. So take that into account, all right? The game is very story heavy. They put it all into story. They didn't put any into combat, all right? Now, the other thing I have to say is that maybe it's just me, but there's only a handful of Oblivion side quests that actually wanted me or made me feel like I wanted to do them. And they were usually the side quests that were like, oh, a guy ran by and was like, can you please help me do this thing or whatever? And I was like, okay. And then it was like, and it's also where you're going, so you can do that and maybe this and then that. And then I would do the side quest, all right? But a lot of the side quests are just like, go here, talk to this person, make sure this person doesn't like this person, figure out why this person is rude to this person. It's like, why am I playing a office simulator in medieval times? I don't care that Stacy doesn't like your haircut. I can literally kill God. But who knows? Maybe you like that shit. Maybe you like the petty shit. And you know what? I ain't gonna knock it, bro. If you like petty office medieval simulator, go for it, dude. You got it. But in my opinion, Oblivion, for what it is, it's basically a time waster game. Which, all video games are time waster games. But Oblivion especially is literally, you ain't got shit to do. All you want to do is chill out and just be in another world for a while. Oblivion's got you covered. There is so much shit to do. So you go to your other world and you talk to Stacy and you talk to all the other Argonians that are being fucking bitches. And then you slay some fucking monsters every once in a while. And that's what Oblivion, that's what is at the heart of Oblivion. Advanced Sims. I'm joking. Kind of. I'm joking, kind of. All right. Oblivion is a lot more interesting than Sims. But you do have to admit that the combat can get stale. And to be fair, I honestly think if I were to play Skyrim right now, the combat in Skyrim would even be stale. I think the only thing Skyrim has on Oblivion in terms of like magic or combat is the introduction of the dragon shouts. Pretty cool, because you can do a lot of cool stuff. Because the magic system isn't custom or whatever, finding a new spell is just like, oh, I found ancient knowledge, and then trying to test it out and be like, whoa, new thing. And then that makes it easier for like the developers to balance those spells. Because I think the reason a lot of these spells are locked at only being 100 hit points is because if you have enough gold, you can make the most advanced spell ever being dumb as shit. Granted, it's going to cost a shit ton of magicka, but hey man, you don't have to be a wizard to make a spell. Anyway, final scores. Oblivion original, 8, 9 out of 10 for what it was at the time, which was like 1886 or some shit. Oblivion remaster, 6 or 7. Looks great. It's still an old game. My opinion, wait for that shit to go on sale.